And the community tours is something new we started. So this is an opportunity for individual adults who are musicians that might play in a community band or maybe not play in a community band to come on a similar kind of tour. And that tour is typically 10 days in Europe. And they do the same kind of thing. They perform 4 or 5 times during that time period. And they're coming back from these tours saying it's life changing for them as well.
They're not only coming back from the tours and saying that, they're signing up for the next tour.
Right.
So in 2024, the tour was so successful that 20 people came on the 2025 tour with me. Well, it's amazing that AMA, American Music Abroad, is celebrating 50 years in 2026. So it's an amazing history since 1976. People often ask about, how AMA got started. And from what I understand, it was started by a band director in South Jersey who decided to take his band to Europe, but not just his band. He invited all the surrounding towns to go with him. And it was so popular that within a year or two, he needed to split it into 2 different tours. And then those grew. And before he had to leave teaching and go into it as a full-time family business to, I think the majority of the 50 years, we've had about 7 or 8 different student tours from all over the Northeast, traveling to Europe, giving amazing experiences to the student participants.
Yeah. And over the last 4 years, we've been able to expand that out into the South as well. So we now have a Nashville, Georgia-based tour, and they're going to be taking probably a shorter tour this year, maybe 15 days. But
as well as the collegiate and the community adult tours that we've started in the last few years, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
yeah. How long have you been doing the program, Keith?
My wife and I both were directors, very fortunate to be directors on this tour starting in 1998. So we've had over 7 tours on the Gold Tour specifically. Our tours have all kinds of names, colors, and Freedom Tour, Liberty Tour, Stars and Stripes Tour, but we have a gold, silver, bronze, red, blue, and so forth.
Those tours are all basic different
geographical locations.
Locations. Throughout the East Coast, basically, right?
Yeah. So, in a nutshell, the most of our tours are 16 to 20-day European experiences. 3 weeks is a long time to be in Europe, but usually we hit 5 to 6 countries. Last year we even hit 7 countries, but you get a lot of bang for your buck when you draw a circle around Switzerland in Europe, and you can hit Germany, Austria, Italy, France, Czech Republic, as Belgium. So the students experience a lot of different cultures, languages, architecture, foods. Now the money's the same, but in the old days we used to change money at every border, and that was a lot of fun too. And we perform usually 6 or 7 concerts while we're there, for free concerts for European audiences. It kind of turns out to be every other night on the tour there's a concert performance. Most of our groups actually begin their tours at a college or university for 2.5 days to put their program together. Rehearsals, orientation sessions.
Get them know each other.
Yeah.
Because these kids are coming from 20, 30, 40 different high schools.
Yeah.
And there might be one kid from one high school and 3 kids from another high school. They're meeting each other for the most part on that first day of college. They might have a spring rehearsal or something like that, but they're getting to meet each other. They're getting to know each other. You're doing activities with them so they get to know each other. You're getting to know them. They get to know all the directors.
Yeah. I think getting to know the staff and the directors who are the ones that are going to be responsible for them and taking care of them for the next 3 weeks in Europe. I think for a high school student is important.
I think that's really great that we chaperone the kids. The directors, the staff are all the chaperones. We don't bring parents along because we want these kids to have this experience. Basically an experience of a lifetime without their parents being there to look over them or help them out. They really have to become a more mature kid while they're on the tour, because they're responsible for giving them their own medications, or dressing themselves, of course, cleaning their own clothes, right?
Yeah,
So
doing laundry.
those kids are not allowed to bring 14 days, 16 days worth of
Clean clothes.
clean clothes. Yes. So we actually have them clean their clothes halfway through the tour, right? So
And that's an experience. I think going back to the chaperones, it's important to note that we have a 1 to 10 ratio. So if there's 150 students on the tour, we have 15 adult chaperones. And those chaperones, by the way, are public school certified music educators who are band directors, choir directors, orchestra directors, in addition to registered nurses and school counselors, which are a very, very important part of our staff. And musically, the staff, they rotate and all conducting different songs. So on the podium, not only in rehearsals but in performances, every song is being conducted by a different director, and it's very different from their school experiences where you have a band director or a choir director who conducts everything. So
they all have different ways of conducting, right?
Yep.
They have to experience a different baton usage, right?
and rehearsal pedagogy,
Right.
yeah. So it's great to get 6 or 7 of those viewpoints versus 1.
And 2.5 days of rehearsal time. It's really not that much when you really think about it. When they might be playing an hour-and-a-half concert between the band, the choir, and the orchestra, that's a pretty long concert to prepare for in 2.5 days, right?
Speaking of our concerts, it reminded me that our concert venues in Europe are just so very unique. Here, students are just used to performing in the high school auditoriums, but in Europe, and I'm sorry, and for their parents, in Europe, no parents, and yet they'll have 200, 300, 400 people at their concerts, and they realize that the Europeans love seeing American kids playing music, and often very much Americana music. But our venues, our performance venues, every one of them is very different and unique. You could be in a cathedral concert one night, and then 2 nights later, you're in an outdoor venue where you're literally looking at the Alps performing. Um, uh, Many of our concerts are outdoors and free, always free concerts to the public. But the feedback from the students have always been how unique every one of the concert venues were.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Well, what I really liked about when I took over running American Music Abroad was the three C's. So every one of our tours goes to a cathedral, a concentration camp, which is a
Sobering visit.
right? And the last C is, I just forgot. Well,
And that was the 3 C's. We always said it was the Alps.
cathedral, concentration camp, and castle.
Oh, castle.
Okay, let's start again.
Well, just
And the third.
keep your hand up when you're counting. The 1, 2, 3. Begin to be, and go.
And the third one is a castle.
Yeah.
So for every one of our trips, the kids get to see these experiences.
Just to touch on the concentration camp for a moment, it's you're right. It's one of the things that we've always done, and we make sure that every AMA tour does. I've been to Dachau probably 25 times, and Mauthausen when we go toward the Czech Republic, very different experiences as well, but just a sobering. And I'm excited this year to go someplace brand new in Belgium, going to Fort Breendonk.
Right.
So to have that experience, but we don't necessarily talk to the kids that much about it. We realize our students are ages 14 or 15 to 18. Half of them, and they'll learn about this in school, which is one thing to learn about this in history class, but half these students will have had U.S. history and half will not have. So to let them go and experience it for themselves at whatever capacity they're absorbing it. Most of these mean visiting a museum, but also things like the crematorium that is all still there, and
some
and
of them have
barracks.
the opportunity to sing in the chapel, right?
Mhm.
And I've heard the stories of kids starting to sing a beautiful song and not being able to finish the song just because of being where they were and understanding after taking the tour of what happened in these places.
My experience has been that we get back on a bus after visiting concentration camp, it's pin drop silence for a half hour down the road, and there's always sniffles and tears.
Yeah.
But then we usually go downtown Munich or whatever for lunch and just have an amazing experience after the visit. But the kids have been affected,
Yeah.
and it's a really good thing.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we do it. It's one thing to learn about this in your history books or in your class, in your history class, but it's another thing to see it and bear witness firsthand
Right.
of what happened.
Right.
Um,
But they get some really exciting other places they get to go to. Maybe a river cruise, which is always nice. The Rhine Falls, seeing these beautiful falls in Switzerland, right? In Lucerne, and we take every group on a glacier tour,
Mhm.
which is you're taking in this great gondola up.
Three of them.
3 of them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
3 gondolas, and when you get to the top, what is there? There's snow. I've actually been there when it was actually snowing in the middle of the summertime. So,
Yeah, the glacier is such a great experience. Yeah, you have to take 3 gondolas, and when you exchange the gondolas to get on the other one, there's large restaurants. The kids actually have their lunch on the glacier that day. My my favorite thing to share, not everybody gets to experience it, but if it happens to be a clear day, there's a placard up on top of the glacier that says that you can see the Alps of 5 countries, and it points to peaks in the different directions where you see the French Alps, the German Alps, the Swiss Alps, the Italian Alps, and the Austrian Alps, all from this one spot at Hindertux Glacier
yeah.
in Austria. I mean, think about that. You are literally looking across Europe,
Yeah.
and so it's not always a clear day on top of the glacier, but nevertheless, it's a lot of fun. There's also some inner tubes up there and a fenced-in area where the kids can play around in the snow, make some snow angels,
Right.
have a snowball fight.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
You mentioned the river cruises. I think 2 of our favorite spots is Prague, and we have a dinner cruise through Prague, and also Paris and on the Seine. And these are evening cruises, and so the sun is setting, and these beautiful cities are just getting lit up at night, and so very picturesque, very memorable. Um,
The one on the Seine this year, people get to see Notre Dame from it,
Mm.
which Notre Dame, now that it's finished and rebuilt, it's very hard to get into, but you'll be able to see it from the Seine River cruise. So that's nice. Another great town that we go to is Westendorf, Austria. And Westendorf, I think, has been part of these tours for 50
all
years.
50 years.
All 50 years. And it's a great town. It's a ski town, right?
Yeah.
And during the summertime, they love having us there because we basically take 12 tours there,
Yeah.
right? And they get to experience the mountains. Again, there's gondolas, 2 gondolas to the top, great restaurants. The kids do a free day. So usually it's halfway through the tours. I know for your tour not so much, but they get a free day, and that's the 3 days that are in Westendorf is when they do their laundry usually. They get a free day to explore and hike and bike and swim, and
Yeah.
the town has welcomed us open arms for so many years.
Yeah, Westendorf will no doubt be every student's favorite time on the entire trip. They could go to Paris, they could go to Milan, they could go to Venice, but when they come back and they are asked what their favorite spot on the tour was, they're gonna say Westendorf, Austria.
Yeah.
It has that much of an impact. I think the freedom and the things to do, exploration that you talked about was one of the things that I think attracts them to that. So one of the things they do on their free day is they actually have to. There's not enough places to eat. It's a small little ski village, right, in the summer. But 150 kids are not going to find lunch, so they actually have to get together with their friends and go to the grocery stores and shop and pack a picnic lunch, and then get on the gondola you talked about and go to the top of the mountain and have a picnic lunch with the cows.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, and they will looking over what it's the Brixental Valley in the Tyrolean region of Austria. That's the mountain region in the western side of the country. But the view is just priceless. They also perform a concert in an Alpenrosenhall there. They have an experience of a Tyrolean folk festival, which turns into a big dance party, which is a lot of fun. So yeah, it has everything, but it's very different what you would expect on these tours. It's very
And you love this town because you get to spend the most time there.
I do.
So
Yeah.
Keith gets to actually, instead of going to a college, he automatically flies to Munich, and spends 5-6 days in Westendorf.
Yep, we do. And during that 5 or 6 days, we also go to the glacier we talked about and take a day trip to Salzburg. And so, all of that happens in the first 5 days, and we get all our rehearsals done and perform our first concert, if not two, in that time frame.
Yeah.
So,
And we actually live stream your concert,
Yeah.
right? So all the parents that didn't get to see you at a college still get to see you in concert.
Yeah.
You're just live streamed from Austria.
Just to touch on on the Gold Tour, it unlike the other tours that you talked about that are usually very regionalized, we're the only one that comes from many different states. So we're spread from New Hampshire to Maryland, and 6 different states are represented. And it makes the European start without going to the college better for our needs, because parents bringing their kids to the college aren't going to be around for three days later for a farewell concert. That's a extra expense if they were to do that and stay in hotels. But so to be able to have that live stream experience, our first time doing it, we had 600 people on the live stream that night during the concert. It's worked out really well.
Right. And I wanted to mention that although our tours are mostly East Coast, we recruit East Coast. We've had kids from all over the country, and we welcome kids from all over the country to come on many of our tours, or all of our tours for that matter. I know that I just got a request from California for some tour, and so we'll just, whoever is available, we can take them.
Yeah, I believe I'll have my niece from Georgia is going to probably be on my tour, and I've an interest from California and from Illinois that have all. It might be also important to mention that all the students who come on the tours have a director recommendation.
Right.
It's important. It's not just a musical recommendation. We say it's a recommendation. Would their director want to spend 3 weeks in Europe with them?
That's right.
Yeah, because if they don't, I don't want them on my tour. We don't want them going. But it's about character. It's about those people who would benefit from the cultural and the travel and the social experiences that this tour is going to give them. There's always great musicians on the tour who can fill the first seats and the first sections, but
there is an audition, though.
there is.
The audition is more for seating than anything. You don't have to audition to go on the tour.
Yeah.
But we have a audition in January for seating purposes mostly.
Yeah, I always say in meetings, how do I know how you play? Do I put you on first clarinet and give you a solo, or do I put you on third clarinet? So we need to know how everybody plays, and our staff listens to all the videos that are sent in, and evaluates and decides who plays first, who plays second, who plays third, and that's how we seat our ensembles.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, we don't like to call it an audition, but a seating recording, and we do require that everybody submits one.
Yeah. What are some of your other favorite destinations?
Well, we didn't talk about Dinkelsbühl.
Yeah.
Dinkelsbühl is a medieval town in southern Germany.
3 German cities that is a walled city.
Walled city and fully moated,
Right.
which we also give the kids a free day there because it's fully moated.
Right.
So, it's cobblestone and all the homes, original 10th century homes. And I say in meetings to kids, do you have any idea how old that is? 10th century. Because they don't. You see the wheels turning. I'm like, that's 1,000 years old, over 1,000 years old. I mean, nothing in our country is over 250 years old.
And the cathedral right in the middle of town is at least 10,000 years or 1,000 years old, right?
Yep. And one of my favorites. It looks a little weird because the spire is so short. They ran out of money. The story is they ran out of money, couldn't finish it.
Yeah.
But when you go in, it is just there's a lot of light in there. I think that's one of the reasons I like it, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah, I think all of our choirs at some point get to sing there.
Yeah.
I heard your choir this year, and it was amazing.
That, and you're talking about in addition to our concerts.
Right.
We've actually performed our full concert in that church, but in addition to our 6 or 7 concerts, we do visit the cathedrals like you talked about, usually multiple great cathedrals, and get a chance to do an impromptu, just get the choir go up front and take 10 minutes and sing some of their a cappella pieces. We always have the choir staff prepare a cappella pieces with a part of the concerts so that they can do them when we don't have the piano and we're just visiting a cathedral, and they can do that. This past summer, we were very fortunate enough on the Gold Tour to have scheduled concerts, 20-minute concerts at the Dom Cathedral in Salzburg, where Mozart was baptized and where he played in organs as a young man. And then also in Vienna, in St. Stephen's Cathedral, we had another stellar opportunity to have a 20-minute performance there. So those were very, very memorable in addition to our regular concerts. Hey, going back to Dinkelsbühl, can I just add a little bit more about Dinkelsbühl? The history of the town is remarkable, and one of the reasons why we go there, the story goes that in 1620s, the Swedes came down from the north and were conquering this area of Germany. And the Swedish army was camped outside the wall, getting ready to attack Dinkelsbühl. And the story goes that he saw Dinkelsbühl children, and he reminded him very much of his own children, and so he decided to spare Dinkelsbühl. There's even a statue by the church you were talking about of the Swedish general and a Dinkelsbühl child. But they celebrate this history every year with a famous festival called the Kindersäcken, and it takes place in July. It's a week-long festival, and people come from all over the world and swarm this town. And there's literally parades 3 or 4 times a day, and it's a big party for a whole week. And where can you witness the celebration of a town's history like that? It's simply amazing. So the Kindersäcken Festival, and the Gold Tour has been very, very fortunate that our tour has crossed that week of the festival in some way, probably the majority of the years that I've gone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. There's another town close by called Rothenburg, that is also a walled city, and that's become another location that a lot of our groups go to, and another beautiful cathedral and another great town square concert. So acoustics in the middle of this town are amazing, and we had 4 or 5 groups perform there this summer.
yeah, we had a adult choir perform there this summer in the town square that you talked about. No amplification needed, standing on the steps of the town hall, but it bounces off all the houses and buildings and church there in the town hall, and a crowd. It's a very touristy town, and so there's lots of tourists swarming this town every day, and so it's very easy to draw a crowd. You just start singing, and hundreds of people will just all of a sudden become your audience for the next hour.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, and that's pretty much true in every town that we go to. If it's an outdoor concert, there's hundreds and hundreds of people at them, so that's great. Yeah. You talked briefly about the community tours, and the community tours is something new we started. So this is an opportunity for individual adults who are musicians that might play in a community band or maybe not play in a community band to come on a similar kind of tour. And that tour is typically 10 days in Europe. And they do the same kind of thing. They perform 4 or 5 times during that time period. And they're coming back from these tours saying it's life-changing for them as well.
They're not only coming back from the tours and saying that, they're signing up for the next tour.
Right.
So in 2024, the tour was so successful that 20 people came on the 2025 tour with me. And
And some of them are already signed up for next year.
they are on for their 3rd tour. But that speaks more than either of us could say about these tours. Just the fact that people are coming back on the tours. Yeah, I was just telling somebody a few moments ago that we had We have 45 signed up on my particular tour, and more than half of them went on either the 24 or the 25 tour already. And to your point, are coming back for their third tour or coming back for their second tour.
Right.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. We're thrilled to have 2 tours this year. One's in late May and one's in late July, right? So, and the one in July is going to start in
Amsterdam.
Amsterdam. So that's a new start location for us. They're going to rehearse in Amsterdam and then they're going to work through Belgium, Normandy, and Paris.
Yep.
So,
And great tours that we've had the last 2 years. Last year, the first year, we started in Prague and rehearsed in Prague and went to Salzburg and Vienna and Budapest. And so because there was so much interest to come back the next year, and they were telling us on the tour that they're coming back, that we definitely had to plan a new tour. And so we planned the next year, this past summer, from Austria to Germany, into Strasbourg, France, and Switzerland. And that was, again, very, very successful, which is why now our third tour in this, for the Independence Tour, is now, like you just, Netherlands, Belgium, and France.
yeah.
So,
And then the other tour that we do have is a Collegiate tour. And the Collegiate tour will be conducted by 6 or 7 college professors. We've had students that were on our student tours come on these tours, but we've also had just students from colleges. And probably last year we had, I don't know, 15, 20 different colleges represented. And this year we're hoping to have more. And same kind of thing. It's a 14-day tour. And it's a great experience for those college students who may not have the opportunity to travel to Europe in their college. And maybe there's a lot of them are just continuing their musical training from high school and are able to travel with us.
yeah. Just to add something I was thinking about, that you can splice in or tag in, that the students that come on our students tour, come from all different high schools. As you mentioned, maybe 30, 40 different high schools that come on a tour. And sometimes they're the only student from their school. And you think about how they're not only not traveling with their parents or anybody they know. And that takes an awful lot of courage. But I would say probably 20% of my tours from year to year, that's the case. They are the only one or one or two from there. So the staff on each American Music Abroad tour, as we talked about, are qualified music educators. And they are usually recruiting, first of all, from their own schools. So they know their kids, but then they also recruit from schools around them, which in their network. So they know the programs, they know the band, choir, orchestra directors at other schools, and they hold in-person meetings to present the tour to students and their parents. But realize we're not just going to any high school. We're not doing mass mailings and just inviting anybody. We're going to schools where we know they have good programs and where we know and trust the band and choir and orchestra directors and ask them to nominate their students or recommend their students. Those students need like we said, need a director recommendation.
Yeah, and so for students that hear about our program, which plenty of people are hearing about our program, and may not be in one of those schools that typically recruits for us, they can apply. They still need a director recommendation. So we ask the director. We have a form they fill out, and they send us a recommendation, and that's really important because as we mentioned before, the maturity of a student going on a trip is utmost of importance
Absolutely.
to us.
Yep. Critical.
And the question usually is, would you travel with this student, for 3 weeks at a time?
Yeah.
So I think that's really important that we find the right kids. But, we cast a pretty large net. We probably reach out to 200 kids for 100 people going on a tour. So it's not always going to be the perfect fit for any family, sometimes because of cost, sometimes because of travel dates, sometimes because of what's going on in the world around us. So it's important to ask lots of kids, but we're looking for I would say, the better of the best, right?
Absolutely. We're also asked often that timing and planning for sending your child to Europe is a huge decision. And sometimes it takes a couple of years of saving and planning for that to happen, or maturing. I have found that literally a quarter of my tour just finished their freshman year, a quarter finished their sophomore year, a quarter finished their junior year and senior year. Um, I've seen, I've heard feedback from parents that sometimes the easier time to afford it is when the kids are younger, like after their freshman or sophomore year, because as they get older, they're driving, money's going to insurance and college and cars and that sort of thing. And so, but then there's a lot of people that they're given as their graduation present or something like that. So it's up to every individual family for that. We do all our recruiting of the tours in the fall, usually from September through November. Our tours are usually filled around Thanksgiving time. It does take a little more challenging as you approach the holidays to have meetings and do recruiting. Also, we have a payment schedule that begins with a deposit in October, November, and then has December through April payments. And so the final payment isn't due until April, which allows you to spread out the payments.
Yeah, sometimes there's a discount, if you want to pay up front, but a lot of people are unable to do that. But fundraising is also always a big part of what all of our students do. And the nice part is, when the kids are freshmen and sophomores, sometimes they do come back. So we've had multiple kids that come back for their senior year or for a college program.
Yeah, the fundraising is an important topic, and we definitely touch on that in our meetings with the students and parents. But I think the students who participate in raising and helping raise the money for their trips also appreciate it a lot more. And I have always had a handful of students every year who raise every cent of the tour by themselves, and that's remarkable. And I ask them, I hear the stories, and it's one student from Carmel High School, New York, Colleen Wallers. I'll never forget her. She paid for her whole trip, and she didn't have to, because Grandpa paid for her two sisters before her. But she wanted to do it, and so she raised it all. I said, "How did you do it?" She said, "Babysitting. I saved all my babysitting money and raised the entire amount." And then she turned around the next year and she did it again.
Wow,
And she came twice.
that's great.
So that's remarkable.
She had the benefit of knowing that her other sisters went.
Yeah.
And the great experiences that they had, of course.
But I think the point is, if a student really wants to go, they can make it happen.
Sure.
I've also had many people from, little means that are able to make it happen. I think being creative in your fundraising is another important thing. We think that sometimes fundraising is just door-to-door selling or asking for money, which is all good, then ways to get money for your tour. But I had a student from Oakhurst High School in New Jersey. He was an all-state marimba player, and he decided he was going to have a concert at his church. And so he invited family, friends, neighbors for a potluck dinner at the church. And he put on a concert program. He played solo marimba. He played duets and trios with his friends. He had a rock band, and his rock band played. And he took up a collection. And he had raised like $4,000. And I just thought it was a very creative and a musical. This is a music tour. And he decided to put his musical skills, to perform a concert. So
That's great.
those stories, I never forget them. Yeah, for the adults that are coming on the trip, it's really been a great idea, Bruce, because what adults don't want to travel? And by the way, we're talking mostly older adults, retire age, and who in their 50s, 60s, 70s doesn't want to travel, 80s, doesn't want to travel. And if they're playing in a community band or singing in a community choir or playing in a community orchestra, they've probably been playing their instrument all their life, and they also, that's probably their biggest love. they love to play music, and they love to travel. So these tours give them a chance to do those probably two biggest loves.
Yeah. Yeah, what I find is really interesting is, we're getting people from all across the country, right? We've had people from Alaska and Utah and Iowa and Texas, and they're all just basically meeting us in whatever the city is that we're starting. So we really don't know much about them besides what instrument they play. There's no rehearsal per se prior to them, maybe sometimes on a Zoom meeting or something like that, but they never get to meet each other until they get to the actual location of their rehearsal.
Yeah, you're right. We had 18 states represented on both the last 2 years of my independent store, and that was remarkable. And because, to your point, we're not getting together for an in-person rehearsal, they can come from anywhere. Like the couple from Fairbanks, Alaska, that play in their Fairbanks Community Band that you mentioned. They met us in Prague, and it worked great. And also, speaking about the adult tours, one of the unique things is the way we do the airfare. Whereas with the student tours, it's a group airfare, and everybody's in the group. But with the adults, although we have group airfare available, maybe only half the tour takes the group airfare, because adults have points, mileage, miles that they can pay with, or want to upgrade or do their
Right.
their
And a lot of
buckets.
them extend.
Their stay.
A lot of them come prior to the trip, and a lot of them extend, weeks,
Yeah.
days, weeks, and beyond.
Yeah.
So,
It's a great way to cater to the adults. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I've not met an adult that hasn't experienced an amazing time.